we are missing the actual Cannes Lion Festival. Every lion that comes in my WhatsApp, I said, oh my God, we could be cheering live in the event or going on stage. But it's glad, I'm happy to talk to you today and to talk a little bit about the festival. But to answer your question, Paul, a little bit about myself. So I'm originally from Brazil. I spent most of my career actually at Coca-Cola. I worked there for 15 years from Latin America to Europe, working basically with brand management. And then I also specialized my career into creative excellence and advertising development. And then after I opened the marketing agenda further, and 3 years ago, I moved from Coca-Cola to RBI, actually to lead marketing creative excellence for Tim Hortons, which is an amazing, iconic Canadian brand. And for me, it was a big learning opportunity, right? To change from consumer goods to retail and work for a company that has such a big brands in the portfolio, but also willingness to move fast and to take risks and work more with the startup mentality. So I spent almost 2 years in Canada, and then I moved to Miami last year, literally one week before the pandemic started, to join the Popeyes global marketing team in a very special moment of the brand after the successful launch of the chicken sandwich, but exporting the brand, the Popeyes brand, around the world. So and now, like three months ago, I took over this bigger role for the 3 brands. And you asked me, Paul, about the path, right? I think I was very lucky to learn a lot from very good marketers in terms of the brand fundamentals, right? The importance of having a clear brand positioning, of knowing the power of consistency, but also bringing local relevance to life, right? I think when you work with big brands like Burger King or like Coca-Cola, your ability to generate consistency, but also the ability to tell local stories, it's super important. And I think with that, besides like the functional expertise, it's also, I love working with people. I love working with teams. And with that, it also comes with the challenge of working with people with completely different backgrounds, completely different mindsets. And I really enjoy the journey as much as the projects itself. So I think that's a little bit about me.
So thinking about that, your journey in Coca-Cola, and of course we all know the expansive product portfolio across categories, but there is one master brand there. And then you came over and you were working at Tim Hortons, and then you focused on Popeyes, and now with all 3 brands, how does your time get managed? Do you spend more time on one brand? Is it harder, easier? Is it about building the team around you to be able to deliver that stewardship to all 3 brands equally?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love to get my hands dirty, but now that they only have 24 hours, and I'm really, really excited to have a strong team, and working not only with the global marketing team, but with our regions, with our local franchisees, with our agencies, because I think in the end, everyone is a brand steward, everyone is a brand ambassador, and it's equally important that we empower people, that we share a vision, that we share principles, but that we empower people to bring the brand to life in multiple touch points and being there for them when they need, right? When they have a question or if they need support to take a risk. So we operate in a very flexible way, because it would be a mistake, right? To centralize and I think most of the companies that do that, they end up being extremely slow and bureaucratic. And I love the fact that today we have, I earned that legacy from Fernando Machado, that built this amazing marketing team in his almost 8 years at RBI. Today we have a super strong marketing team that can walk on its own. And I'm here basically to support and to help to take the brand to the next level and to help them to run the show.
Fantastic. So yeah, Fernando, nobody better. Let's talk about Burger King, because that's, you can feel his presence there. Again, congratulations. So far, two lions. Burger King has a history, has a legacy of bringing really bold campaigns into the marketplace. And for this one that we're talking about that has just been celebrated for its creativity, it's the Moldy Whopper campaign, which is even just the name of it is just, it's fantastic. So really arresting, visually just a stunning campaign. And it's focused on the beauty of no preservatives, like what that is like, the pureness of the product. So tell us the story of the campaign. And we know its creative impact. It's been celebrated and awarded for its creative impact, but also talk about the impact that it's had on sales, on the brand itself, and on the culture, and just on culture in society and inside the organization.
Yeah, sure. So Paul, just a quick correction. It's funny because I think I talked to you a day ago when we had 2 lions. Right now we have more than almost 20
Oh my goodness.
on the list. It's crazy. Like we have of course,
congratulations.
Yeah, no, but again, I think that's to the point of having an organization of marketers around the world that are really into experimenting and taking the brand to the next level. I think it's the only way when you do that in a non-centralized way, right? So really excited to see the results coming from multiple countries. And about Moldy Whopper, like I was not the creator of this idea. Did this one with Ivo and Ingo and David and Publicis. A lot of agencies were involved, but I can definitely comment from a brand standpoint on this campaign. So Moldy Whopper for me, it's a great example of the power of creativity, right? Because it's the ability of believing in the creative process and the ability to turn a boring brief or a boring message into something really, really impactful. So as a company, we have been investing in the past years a lot of effort to remove artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives from all our portfolio at Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons. So this is something that we feel extremely proud. And this is something that we have been really progressive in the industry in terms of reformulating our core recipes, maintaining the amazing taste of our products, but removing those artificial ingredients from our menu. So the first product that we did that was the Whopper, which is our iconic burger. And then the briefing was to the agency how we communicate the fact that right now we don't have, in that case, preservatives. And when Ingo from Sweden and Ivo, my partner that works with me on the Burger King global marketing team, when they presented this idea, of course, it's an idea that creates a lot of fear. How come a food brand, a restaurant brand, can show spoiled food? This basically defies the laws of of marketing, right? People will feel disgusted. People will not want to eat the Whopper ever again. And turns out the result was exactly the opposite, because the craft was so impactful. Every detail of that film, the soundtrack, the lighting, the letterings, all the details on that film really dramatizes the transformation of that Whopper day by day. And the fact that, yeah, because we don't add preservatives, it will spoil. And that's actually good. So we had a massive amount of our media. As you can imagine, Burger King is not the leader brand in the industry. So our media money is definitely much more limited than our competitors. But we got a lot of earned media and free media with that idea. And after launching it, the great result was that campaign helped our guests to feel even better about our food. They wanted to come to Burger King and generated a lot of momentum. So I think the learning here is that really we shouldn't be afraid of taking risks and always believing that a great idea can elevate a message and can make a message fly even further. So very, very proud of this achievement and seeing now that Moldy Whopper got this recognition at Cannes.
Well, in any great story, you need to have a hero. And in restaurants, in the QSR category, food is the hero. And if you've ever been on a shoot, you know the amount of time that is spent bringing that food to a place where it is camera ready. So to do that is really, it's counterintuitive to everything that has been established as a norm for advertising in your industry, and it's just delivered. It's delivered in spades. Have you been able to look back on that for the impact on the company? Has it translated into equity for the master brand? Has it had a positive impact on sales? Have you seen any of the more business results from it that you can talk to?
Yeah, as I was talking to you, Paul, we see a very interesting lift in terms of brand health and positive association. So I think that's the beauty of creativity, right? An idea that shows not that appealing food can actually make your food more appealing in people's minds. And we were really proud to find an idea that was so powerful to represent all the effort that not only our marketing teams, but our culinary teams, our quality teams are putting behind this project of real ingredients for our brands.
Yeah, amazing, just amazing stuff. So staying on Burger King for a second and just pulling back from the products just to the brand itself, to your domain, you've just completed a major rebrand for Burger King. And it is an established brand. It's an iconic brand around the world. And you've gone through this this rebranding. I know there's a keynote on it at Cannes Live this year. So tell us the story. Let's hear about that rebrand and why now, and talk about the process and how it's landing in the market.
Definitely, yeah. So yesterday we went live with my friends from JKR, Sarah and Lisa, and my partner Ellie here at BK on the keynote that talks about the making of the Burger King rebrand that we announced it on January 1st. This is the type of work that I feel really proud of, because it's the type of strategic initiative that really has a long-lasting impact in the brand. So the last time the Burger King logo was changed, it was in 1999. And the briefing was that the previous logo was very old and we needed a modern visual identity for Burger King. But guess what? I think now brands are more and more understanding that we shouldn't be creating an expression that is located to a point in time, because actually as time goes by, that expression gets old, but we should basically celebrate a timeless expression of the brand, that it's iconic, that it's classic, yet modern. So the whole strategy was all around coming back to our roots and celebrating the best of our food, the taste, the indulgence, the mouth-watering, and celebrating the colors and the ingredients in a much more prominent way. So the logo was the first, the main actual change that we came back to the iconic Burger King logo that had already a lot of emotional share of heart in the heart of Americans, right? That grew up seeing that Burger King brand. And we basically just had the chance to modernize it and change some small things that you wouldn't even notice, but feels much more, feels better. And also working on a set of illustration and fonts and color palette that basically celebrates the freshness and the boldness of our food. So usually a brand overhaul of this size receives a lot of criticism, and we were really excited to see when we did the brand review in January that it was a big consensus that people was feeling like, wow, that's right, that's really Burger King. And it was the type of effort that really showcased the importance of knowing who you are and not hiding it, because that's something extremely powerful and actually is the right translation of authenticity, right? It's your ability to be proud of your past and modernize it for the future, but still being hooked in it. So on the keynote, I said that when I saw the work done by Fur and Rafa and JKR for the first time, it was really a slap on my face, because I said, oh my God, they just removed everything that was not Burger King and it's just left Burger King. So I think it's a pretty interesting story that a lot of brands can actually benefit from a similar thought process.
So this is a brand you can quite literally feel, taste, touch, experience. And as you and I have talked about, the online channel has accelerated over the past year, but this is an in-store experience that you go in and like you're in the brand, you are living in the brand, you're obviously a sizable media spender across digital, across broadcast, across social, across audio, and you had to change every single touch point of it. This was not just swapping out a logo. This was the entire experience of the brand. How was that process, and how did that go? Did it, because it seems daunting on the surface. We just went through it ourselves at Audacy. And
it's very scary. Yeah, indeed. And to be honest, we are just starting. Even though we are looking at the brand and talking about it for the past months, we are just starting the transition. And it takes time and a lot of effort and a lot of money to update the brand across the board, right? Because remodeling a restaurant, it's something extremely expensive. The easier touch points to change is basically changing our visual in our digital assets, in our merchandising, in our packaging. But when it comes to remodeling restaurants, this is an effort that takes time. So we are in the process of working with our franchisees and seeing great momentum. Like we have already like more than 300 restaurants in India, in Spain, that already feature the new logo. And we will keep working fast to update it. And it's really interesting how each of our local markets end up like playing with the new visual identity and bringing their local flavor to it. So for example, in Mexico and in Spain, we have been collaborating with local artists so they can paint the new visual identity in our restaurant walls and bringing their own local flavor to it. And I think that's a great example of global consistency with local relevance, right? In Korea as well, we invited people to draw our logo and give their own take on it. And it's really interesting to see how the brand work becomes part of pop culture, and it's not something that just lives in a locked guideline, but it's something that allows for flexibility and for local play. So it will take time for us to see the new work across the board, but I think it's the right thing to do in the long term.
As you were talking about the from 1999, the last time it was done until now, I started thinking about, and I started thinking through the lens of Miami too. If you're in the American Airlines terminal in Miami or in JFK in New York, you can see the logo. They have them up on the wall with the years that they were done, and no rationale, but you can see the change of those marks and the system that went along with it. So a clear brief in 1999, the brand is getting tired and we need to refresh it. And then you talked about now, which I thought was really interesting, about going back to the roots and celebrating the timelessness of this brand. Was there anything that really drove that decision that now is the right time to do this? And you launched, by the way, right before, or you launched this year. So you did all the work. You did all the work remotely. So I want to talk about that in a second, but was there anything that made that decision at that point, like this is the right time to invest in the brand now?
Yeah, I think this was part of a maturing process that we always knew this was the right thing to do, but we had to do the work first. And I think it's interesting because when we think about 2020 as a year that made everyone really reflect upon like who we are, why we are here, what's important, what's not important, I couldn't think about a more contextually relevant moment to announce that rebrand than January 1st, 2021, because the pregnancy of that change was during the whole year of 2020, right? And it was done, actually it was a process that took 2 years, But as the time was going by, it was even more certain for us that this was the right thing to do, because that was our most authentic self. And that truth can have the power to make people love Burger King more and identify with the brand. So we are really proud to be able to launch that in the beginning of this year and start the transition right after.
You know, I think as I've gotten to know you, I think one of your superpowers is your ability to use creativity to solve business problems. And those are the conversations you and I have been having. And we reflect on this last year where everybody was working remote and teams were not together. And you read all about Zoom fatigue and how innovation and creativity and collaboration suffered. Yet you, agency partners around the globe, teams in Mexico, teams in Korea, have brought this brand to life in a most amazing way. What was the secret? How did you keep the team united and that creative spirit flowing and deliver just an amazing product?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in the end, it's all about working with people that share the same vision and that is hungry for the same type of things, right? So today, our marketing team, our agencies, we work with people that are crazy about making ideas happen, and people who are crazy about creating brand love and being relevant in culture. So we are really not afraid about working very fast and working in WhatsApp and reviewing ideas fast, being careful not to overthink sometimes, right? Of course, we need to make the right decisions, but on the other hand, sometimes we can get some corporate paralysis and think too much and miss the train, right? So I think being able, no matter, I really don't think that the distance slowed us down. I think in contrary, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, I never saw a number of like creative ideas popping here and there and us producing things really fast, even like attending to shootings via Zoom. So which the world was upside down, but our speed and ability to do things was equally high, right? I think definitely I miss the fact that I'm in those global roles for 2 years now, and I've never been to those markets outside of the US. So I'm looking forward for the real experience and to having some FaceTime. But I think in the end, if you're aligned with the vision and the dream, we can make that happen remotely.
It's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm reminded to ask our participants out there in Cannes land, if you have questions for Paloma, put them in the chat box and we will surface them up. So of course, there's this expression, let's talk turkey. Let's not do that, Paloma. Let's talk chicken. Let's shift and talk about Popeyes. Absolutely an iconic brand. And, you know, when I think about that brand, there's a flavor profile to the brand that nobody can touch. It's almost like you're without competitor. But I'd love to talk about the chicken sandwich journey, right? There is this cultural phenomenon now around the chicken wars, and every brand is coming out with it. And when Popeyes did, there was like traffic jams. There were lines around the street to get at it. So talk about the battle, talk about that journey that you were on. Maybe start with the chicken wars. Just talk a little bit about that and then bring it into Popeyes and tell us how it's going.
Sure. Yeah. So Popeyes, as you said, right, it's a brand with so much heritage and culinary authority, right? For a long period of time, chefs know that Popeyes is one of America's best kept secrets, like the Louisiana flavors and the seasoning and the cooking techniques that makes that chicken really, really special. It was really exciting finally to see that cult brand going really mass with the amazing work that my friend Bruno did in 2019 with the launch of the chicken sandwich. And I think it teaches us a lot of interesting things, because the first point is really the power of a great product, right? I think Popeyes was able to redefine what a great chicken sandwich was, because after we launched it in 2019, And of course, there was the emotional component, right, of the hype that I can touch on it. But our culinary team, Amy, they worked more than 2 years to perfect that product, in a sense that today we have the chicken sandwich in more than 20 countries, and we are very serious about replicating that exact cooking technique, that exact taste, from the pickle to the brioche to the filet, around the world. And I think after we did that, all the competitors looked at their chicken sandwiches and said, that's not good enough. And then basically all of them started to reformulate, and that's where the chicken wars that started between Popeyes and Chick-fil-A took over basically the whole fast food market. So I think that's the first learning around product excellence, and it's something that it's so good that people just can't not talk about it. Then the second element, it's really the power of listening, to our guests, to our fans, and to be able to listen to the cultural zeitgeist and be able to react to it. So the Popeyes chicken sandwich was launched in a very unconventional marketing plan, and I think not by accident. Also, today Popeyes and the work done by GSDM won Gold Lion in media, exactly because of this innovative media strategy around having a point of view on Twitter, into having a super strong PR strategy, and not actually using TV as a medium for the launch. And then once we have a great product, a great idea, this can really travel, right? So we opened Popeyes in Shanghai last year in May, in the middle of actually it was not, Shanghai was already kind of open in May last year. We saw the ribbon cutting via Zoom, and we had more than 5-hour lines. A line of like people waited more than 5 hours to try the chicken sandwich in China. And for me, that's really the example of a great idea and a great product that can travel, right? And I remember getting goosebumps that, oh my God, if people in the other side of the world, people that never been to New Orleans, to Louisiana, people that never been to a Popeyes, if they're lining up for that sandwich, shows really the power of great product and great marketing that can travel around the world. And we spent all year last year exporting the chicken sandwich for more than 20 countries. Seems something easy, but with the travel restrictions, our culinary team couldn't travel, so we were literally sending mayo samples, bun samples from country to country around the world so they could try and approve. So it was a massive process, but the right thing to do to bring this iconic product around the world and to many more countries to come.
And you mentioned an unconventional advertising strategy that didn't rely on the mass reach of linear TV, and rather was digital and social and PR and word of mouth. What was the big learning there, and how will that affect the way media gets planned across the entire portfolio? Does that have impact on that, Paloma?
Yeah, so I don't want to send the wrong message in terms of a consistent media strategy in terms of reach. It's really, really important. I think the key learning for us is to complement that with a very good read of real time in social media, right? So we still do a lot of TV media. I think it's a super important medium, also in digital, in performance media. So we use the basic media tools to build reach and frequency. I think good becomes great when we can combine that with a very strong ability to listen in real time to what people are talking about, and the ability to react really fast, and complement campaigns that they go on TV and that they are building product quality, they are building awareness, but also in the same time building very strong cultural relevance in real time.
Understood. And then just staying on the brand for one more question. As an audio company, and as somebody who's spending a lot of time with audio now, I'm always interested in the sonic identity, that part of a brand profile. And of all the brands in the portfolio, Popeyes seems to have a really, really defined sonic identity. Would you share a little bit about that and how that has had an impact on the brand?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite topics because coming from New Orleans and Louisiana, it's impossible not to have music in our heart, even though I think that music can be a great tool for any brand to connect emotionally with people, right? So Popeyes is a brand that was built over the jingle, Love That Chicken from Popeyes. Last year during the pandemic, uh, we had a lot of efforts, not only to help the New Orleans community, but to help out of work musicians, allowing them to play our jingle and to use those assets in our ads. And now we have important discussions like, okay, how music is an experience inside our restaurants. How can we connect to the music community? So music is such a big shortcut, to connect with consumers' hearts. And I think in the case of Popeyes, there is so much richness around it, but also for our other brands. So it's great to see the work that you guys are doing at Audacy. Audacy, like you told me, like the company is pretty new, right? And I consider this a fundamental tool to create brand engagement.
Awesome.
Always been, but nowadays even more.
You're singing to the choir, Paloma. That is
No,
exactly, how a brand sounds has never been more important. And I could geek out on that for hours about how brands going into the ears affect the brain and start to make impact on how people think, feel, and ultimately transact with a brand. And we're getting close. We're only got 5 minutes left. This is an awesome discussion, but I wanted to pull out a little bit here and be sensitive to some of the questions coming in to a bit of a more of an industry view, the QSR view. And there's an interesting question, something that you and I talked about here, is that with restaurants beginning to reopen, coming back to full capacity, how do you see any demand shifts for third-party delivery services, as well as for your own app? You have built some really important and deeply bonded relationships, more digitally oriented than physically oriented because of the world we were living in. How does that shift now that we come back to full capacity?
Yeah, I think definitely the pandemic accelerated a lot of trends and the need to digitalize our business completely. I think in the end, um, people always want more convenience. I think last year we had the limitation of not being able to dine in our restaurants, and therefore we are ordering delivery. But then we learned that, hey, this is a much more convenient way. I don't need to stay in the line. I can do curbside pickup. I can pre-order on my app. And by the way, I can get points and I can join a lot of loyalty programs like Burger King has one. Popeyes, we just launched Popeyes Rewards this week, and really helping us to have a more personalized approach to our guests. So I am excited to see our restaurants reopening. I think there is still space for the dining moment where you want to sit down there with your family, have a good time inside a Burger King or a Popeyes. But definitely a lot of our business is still pretty much focused into drive-through, and now digital orders will keep being a big part of it. So I don't think we will return to previous consumption patterns, because even if you go to the restaurant, you're going to keep ordering online, and the role of our app is even more important. So looking forward to see the next chapters of our recent history. But definitely we believe that digital will continue to play a central role into everything that we do.
So last question then, and really related, is as we're going into the back half of the year, and all the economic data is saying that people are on the road. Airplanes are jammed again. American just canceled a bunch of flights because they just don't have the team to service those flights. Does this return to whatever the new normal look like, does that have any impact on your brand and marketing strategies for the second half of the year?
Yeah, I think we don't see a change, but just a very favorable context that people are really open to come back and to enjoy lives and to come back to their routines. So some day parts, like for example, breakfast, people used to have their routines of going to the office and stopping by a Burger King for breakfast, for example. and now this will be back. And an overall trend around people enjoying life more, right? Going to a bar or a party at night and then going to a Popeyes later. So we're going to see all those types of habits coming back, and being a part of a new routine. So pretty excited to see the reopenings in an optimistic way.
That's fantastic. Let me look and see. I think we've hit all of these questions here. I'll just ask you this final question on your way out, and going back to what we talked about doing this all in a remote environment. We've got a bunch of participants on the phone. I've been watching the numbers go up as we've gone through our discussion. So you are a big draw. If you could give our viewers a couple of words of wisdom about how to drive creativity and innovation in the workplace, what would you tell them you learned during the year, and what advice would you give us all to be more creative and more innovative?
That's a very good final question. First of all, I believe everyone is creative or can be creative, right? I don't think creativity is something that the advertising team should have as a job title. I think creativity can make things better from a product perspective, from a process logistics perspective. So I think this is the first principle of embracing creativity and necessarily risk-taking, right? Because if you want to be creative, being open to risk, it's something inevitable, because if you will naturally try to do something new, it will come with a risk, and being comfortable with that, I think that's the first step. And the second point is really having the ability to nurture ideas, right? I think usually when you see a creative idea or a different solution, naturally people's reactions is to shy away or to be afraid or to kill the idea, because that's the natural instinct. But it's the ability to nurture an idea and get it to the finish line that really differentiates those who can make it to those who give up. So I see now in the context of the Cannes Lion Festival, all those ideas that are being awarded, it's to the brave ones that got them to the finish line. And they definitely overcame a lot of challenges from a production standpoint, from a craft standpoint, from a budget standpoint, from a internal alignment standpoint. So I think that's, I love to go through this process. And I think loving the journey is as important, because if you want basically the short route, it's very easy just to give up on the first different idea that will come your way. But if you enjoy the journey, definitely you will get there, and we will be able to try and error and be comfortable with that environment. So I'm a big believer of the power of creativity and innovation to the business as a whole, not only for communications.
Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Emily.
Hi, guys. I've been popping in to be the host for the second half of the day, and what a great note to end on. Thank you both so much. I feel like the brands in the RBI portfolio are always,